No.
No, yeah, you're going to come in now.
Am I being detained?
Yes.
For what?
Because right now you are doing something suspicious.
That's not a reason to detain anybody.
Well, it is for dinner. Come on.
It's really not.
Let's go
so
inside
I'm just going
now.
to stay here and continue recording.
Okay. You're going to come in and we're going to find out who you are and what you're doing here.
No, you're not.
Okay. All right, who's got cuffs? She does not want to go agreeably. Okay.
I'm being detained for just taking pictures of the building.
Yes, ma'am. You're doing something suspicious, and we need to know who you are and why you're doing it. Okay?
Are you familiar with the First Amendment?
Yes. I am.
Really?
Put
Let's
your
go
hands
in.
behind your back.
Come on.
Wow.
I tried to do this nicely. You are aware of Homeland.
This is not intended for one hater, but all haters. Haters make me famous.
No.
No, yeah, you're going to come in now.
Am I being detained?
Yes.
For what?
Because right now you are doing something suspicious.
That's not a reason to detain anybody.
Well, it is for dinner. Come on.
It's really not.
Let's go
so
inside
I'm just going
now.
to stay here and continue recording.
Okay. You're going to come in and we're going to find out who you are and what you're doing here.
No, you're not.
Okay. All right, who's got cuffs? She does not want to go agreeably. Okay.
I'm being detained for just taking pictures of the building.
Yes, ma'am. You're doing something suspicious, and we need to know who you are and why you're doing it. Okay?
Are you familiar with the First Amendment?
Yes.
This is media unit number 1 of the video recorded deposition of Lieutenant Donald Milazzo, taken by counsel for plaintiff in the matter of Amanda Jane Bergquist versus Lieutenant Donald Milazzo, Jennifer Larson, James
I'm sorry.
Barbero.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Lieutenant Donald.
Yep, Milazzo, Jennifer Larson, James Barbero et al., filed in the United States District Court, Northern District of Illinois, bearing case number 18CV03619. This deposition is being held at 10220 South 76th Avenue, Ridgeview, Illinois. My name is Craig Sinnott from the firm Veritext, and I'm the videographer. The court reporter is Suzanne Burke from the firm Veritext. I am not authorized to administer an oath. I am not related to any party in this action, nor am I financially interested in the outcome. Counsel and all present in the room and everyone attending remotely will now state their appearances and affiliations for the record.
Solomon Radner on behalf of the plaintiff, Miss Amanda Bergquist, who is present and seated to my right.
Assistant State's Attorney Michael Gorman on behalf of the defendants.
Will the court reporter please swear in the witness?
Do you want to raise your right hand to be sworn, please? Solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Do you recognize the young lady seated to my right?
Yes.
And who is she?
Amanda Bergquist.
And when did you come to know her?
March of last year.
And how did you come to know her?
We observed her outside. We stopped her and detained her
Why'd you detain her?
for suspicious activity.
What crime did you suspect her of committing?
We suspected her of violating the judicial order, videotaping in and around the building.
And did you say and around the building?
Yes.
Does the judicial order actually say the words and around, or is that your own words?
That was what we were told at the time.
Who told you that?
I don't recall.
Well, it's very important to know, so I need you to really dig deep and try to remember who told you that the policy is to detain people taking pictures outside of the building, please.
I'm going to object. It was just asked, and it was just answered. He said he doesn't remember.
What could you do to help us to help yourself remember?
Objection vague.
I'd like an answer.
I don't know.
Are there any emails you could look through?
Not that I can recall.
Text messages?
No.
Facebook messages?
It was just the standard policy dating back to after 9/11.
So you received some sort of training, or was it a phone call? How is it that you first learned after 9/11 that you're supposed to detain people taking pictures outside of the building?
That was the policy that we were told back then.
Back when?
after 9/11,
Okay, so you were told this in 2001,
approximately.
and you haven't been told that since?
Not that I can recall.
How many other people that you can think of have been detained for taking pictures outside of the courthouse since 2001?
I couldn't answer that.
Any that you can think of?
There have been other reports done, yes.
Okay. When's the most recent one that you can think of?
I don't know.
All right. And your testimony is that you were told there was a written policy. How is it that this policy was conveyed to you that you're supposed to detain people outside of the building taking pictures?
It was just a standing policy we had.
Did you hear my question?
Can you repeat it?
Sure. How is it that you became aware of the policy? Did somebody tell you? Did somebody post it? Was it an email?
Farthest back I remember, it would have been the Chief Deputy, Robert Beavers.
Okay. And when would that have been?
After 2001.
Where's Robert Beavers now?
He's dead.
When did he die?
I don't recall.
Did he only tell you, or did he tell other people also?
No, it was in... I don't know if it went out at a meeting or something like that. I don't really recall.
But you definitely recall that however it is he told you, he included that you're supposed to detain people taking pictures outside of the building. Right?
If they were, yes.
All right. Was there anything in writing about this?
I don't recall.
How soon after the arrest did you look up the order to see what it actually said?
I don't recall.
Okay. Was it very soon after? Was it only after you got served with a lawsuit? Can you help me out at all? Because it's almost a year later.
Again, I can't recall when I looked at it.
Do you remember if it was hot or cold outside?
I don't.
Do you remember where you looked it up?
I don't recall.
And he sent it to you by way of email, text message. How did he send it to you?
I don't recall.
Is it documented somewhere
Is what documented?
that he sent this to you? Is there a note somewhere indicating that he sent it to you? Is there a text message, a phone call, an email, anything that would point to him actually sending you this judicial order? And again, we're talking after Ms. Berquist was arrested.
I can't answer that for sure.
Okay. You've had a chance to review the order since the arrest?
I read it back then, yes.
Okay. And does it say in and around the building?
It does not.
Right. It says in the building, right?
Yes.
Right. Because in the building is where the order pertains to, right?
Correct.
Outside of the building is public, and anybody could take pictures there all day and all night, right?
Correct.
In fact, Ms. Berquist could go outside right now and do exactly what she was doing back on the day that you arrested her, and if you saw her doing it, what would you do today?
I'm going to object. It calls for speculation. You can answer it if you understood the question.
We probably would not have detained her.
Would not have detained her. So if you would have actually known the law, you would not have detained her, right?
Well, right now we would know what she was doing out there. But at the time, we didn't know if she was videotaping people coming out, videotaping witnesses, videotaping people that were involved in domestic violence, videotaping inside the door where the posts were. We didn't know that.
Any of those examples you just gave, if that's what you thought she was doing, would you arrest her then?
Then?
Now. Would you arrest her now?
Now I know who she is and I know what she's doing.
Forget her. Let's say somebody else is outside. We get done with the deposition, you walk outside or you look outside your window and you see somebody filming the building. Are you going to go over and detain that person or not?
I'm going to object again. Calls for speculation.
I'd like an answer.
Unless I instruct you not to answer, you can still answer. I just
okay.
have to object.
So again, the question, just so that we have a question answer, and the objection is noted. If you look outside your window right now, today, January 15th, 2019, and you see somebody standing there taking pictures of the building, taking video of the building, what would you do?
We're still going to approach them to find out what they're doing.
And what if they don't want to tell you? What would you do then?
Well, then again, we would handle it in a case-by-case incident.
Okay. Is there any situation in which the person just says, I'm not talking to you, and you would detain them now that you know the actual order?
I'm going to object again. It's calling for speculation. You can answer it if you understood.
I can't say.
I'd like to. Yeah. All right, thank you. I'm going to hand you what's been marked as Exhibit 1. Please, I'm going to hand you my highlighter. I'm going to ask you please to highlight the portion there where it tells you that you're allowed to detain people for taking pictures outside of the building. Okay, excellent. So I see that there's something on the first page that you highlighted, two things on the second page that you highlighted, and well, the third page is mainly blank, so nothing highlighted there. All right, now the first thing that you highlighted is, and I'm going to read exactly what you highlighted. Examples of suspicious activity may include but are not limited to. Did I read that correctly?
Correct.
Okay. Where does it say there that you get to detain people? And I'm going to hand it back to you so you can show me. And this time highlight, please, where it says you get to detain people.
Okay. It does not say it in that paragraph.
What I'm asking you is, what did Ms. Berquist do, or what information did you receive regarding suspicious activity?
The fact that she was videotaping the building and possibly inside the doors, is suspicious.
Okay. Is it against the law to do that?
Not necessarily.
Is it ever against the law to do that?
No.
Thank you. Was Ms. Berquist detained for taking pictures?
Yes. And for not identifying herself.
Right. Is there a law that requires people to identify themselves when requested by law enforcement?
I don't know.
Okay. Did you delete her pictures?
No.
Who did?
Don't know.
You don't know who deleted her pictures?
No.
By the time you got in front of Judge Peter Felice, they were deleted, weren't they?
As far as I know, they were still on there.
You grabbed her camera
Yes.
away from her outside, did you not?
Yes.
From that point until you were in front of Judge Peter Felice, did she ever hold her camera again?
No.
Okay, so you had it the entire time.
Yes.
Didn't Judge Peter Felice talk to you about whether the pictures had been deleted?
He asked for the memory thing so he could delete them.
Did you hear what I asked you?
Yes.
What did he tell you about deleting the pictures?
I don't recall.
Okay, you just said that he asked you for the memory card because he wanted to delete the pictures. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
Okay, and if he were to testify at some point in time that he absolutely, categorically did not delete those pictures, then would you want to change your answer as to whether you or one of your people did?
I'm going to object. Calls for speculation.
No one had custody of the camera but me.
Okay. So you had it, you gave it to Judge Peter Felice.
Yes.
Judge Peter Felice ultimately gave it back to Ms. Berquist.
Yes.
Okay. So if it was deleted from the time she was outside until the time she got it back by Judge Peter Felice, it was either deleted by you or by the judge, right?
Yes.
Would it have been lawful for you to delete her pictures?
I don't know.
Well, what do you think? Are you allowed to go over to people's pictures and delete them
No.
without a court order?
No.
All right. That would be a violation of which amendment? Do you know?
No.
Which amendment is it that prevents you from seizing people's property without a lawful basis?
Fourth Amendment.
Exactly.
Will the court reporter please swear in the witness?
Whenever you are being sworn, please do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony about to give the truth and nothing but the truth.
Did you ask Malazzo how the deposition went?
I did not.
You didn't talk to him at all?
I saw him as I was walking out of the office. We walked out. He said, they're going to ask you a lot of questions, and that was it.
Okay. So what have you done to prepare for this deposition? Anything?
No, I spoke to State's Attorney Mike Gorman yesterday. Briefly, we did a phone conference.
I don't want to hear about that.
Okay.
I don't know where we're going. Did you review any documents or any video footage?
I did not.
Okay. Is it against the law to take pictures of a courthouse from outside?
No, not that I know.
Okay. Is it lawful to arrest somebody for taking pictures outside of a courthouse, of the courthouse?
No, not that I know.
Okay. Is there something
Lisa, keep your voice up, please.
Okay, sorry.
So I gotta get every word because it's on video.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this case at all?
Which case?
The case that brings us here today, that you're testifying in?
Yes.
Okay, and in a nutshell, what's the case about?
I would say that Amanda Burquist is, I guess I called you to say that she was outside videoing when she shouldn't have been.
Outside videoing when she shouldn't have been. Outside videoing when she shouldn't have been.
Outside videoing when she shouldn't have been. So she's saying we violated her amendment rights.
You're correct. When you say when she shouldn't have been, what does that mean? Was she doing something wrong?
Just something unusual, what us as officers would consider unusual.
Unusual, okay. Depending on where you are in the country, Mormons are unusual, right? Depending on where you are, it might be unusual to see a Mormon. Do you get to detain Mormons in those places?
I don't know. People detain Mormons.
You don't have to speak.
I don't know if they detain Mormons.
Would it be lawful? Just because it's unusual?
No, I don't.
Okay. Is there something unlawful about recording outside of a building?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Let me ask you this. Was Miss Berquist doing anything illegal when she was detained?
No, I would say it was not illegal, unusual.
Okay. In order to detain somebody, what do you have to have legally? Do you know?
I do not know the law legally.
Okay. Did you have any reasonable suspicion that she was committing a crime?
We had reasonable suspicion to ask her what she was doing and why she was doing it, just to get who she was and why.
You and I agree on that you had the right to ask her whatever you wanted to ask her. Did you have the right to put her in handcuffs?
For the security of the officers, yes.
Okay. What made her a threat?
Her refusing to give any information that was requested of her.
Was she legally obligated to give that information?
When an officer has asked her for security purposes to give her identity up, yes, we do have the right to ask for an identity of somebody for our safety.
Are you serious?
Have you ever heard of something called a Terry search or a Terry frisk?
I have.
Okay, what is that?
I'm not going to say exactly. I don't know the law.
Okay. Well, let me just ask you this. A police officer is allowed to go over to anybody they want, demand to see ID, and if they refuse, they get to arrest them? Is that your testimony? Or detain them?
Can you say it one more time? I'm sorry.
Sure. Police officer goes over to somebody on the street. Let's call the person Mr. Plaintiff.
Okay.
Police officer goes to Mr. Plaintiff and says, hey, let me see your ID. And Mr. Plaintiff says, no. Is the officer now allowed to put Mr. Plaintiff in handcuffs and detain him?
I'm going to object. It's a hypothetical. It calls for speculation.
Yeah.
You can answer.
Okay. I do believe, yes, for officer safety, they do have the right to then, at least then do a pat-down of the person's outer garments for their safety.
Doesn't there have to be reasonable suspicion that the person committed a criminal offense or violated a law?
As I don't know the law exactly.
You don't know when an officer is allowed to detain somebody?
We can detain if there is unusual activity.
Who told you
To-
that? Oh, sorry, finish.
Okay. To gather information. To gather information.
Who decides what's unusual?
A reasonable person.
Gotcha. What was Ms. Berquist doing that was unusual? Just videoing?
Once I came out there,
Well, you put the handcuffs
you're
on her,
asking?
didn't you?
no,
Were you there when she got handcuffed?
I was.
You put the handcuffs on her?
It did not necessarily help. I was there as the other officer did it.
Did you touch Ms. Berquist at all?
If I did, I don't recall.
Okay. Was there any reasonable suspicion that she was committing a crime, yes or no?
We weren't sure what she was doing.
Okay, so if you don't know what somebody's doing, do you have reasonable suspicion that they're doing anything in particular?
No, but we have a reasonable response to ask what she was doing.
Right. Agreed. You could ask her what she's doing. And when she refuses to answer, are you now allowed to detain her?
Yes.
Who told you this? That you get to detain people who are videoing and refuse to identify themselves when asked?
In this case, or are you asking me per our... Which are you looking towards? Are you asking just for like myself or per the sheriff's office?
Well, in this case, I'm assuming that Milazzo was calling the shots, right?
My lieutenant was there first, yes.
Your lieutenant's name is?
Lieutenant Milazzo.
Milazzo, right, okay. Now, I'm talking about in general. Who told you that you get to detain people if there's unusual activity to gather information, if they refuse to identify themselves?
Just in general, you're saying
general.
not in this case.
Yeah. Was it a training?
It was an unusual case in our courthouse. We are to stop and gather information to make sure that the situation would be secure.
Right, so who told you that?
I would say my department.
When did your department tell you this?
I cannot tell you exactly. I don't know.
Is it fair to say that this policy has been in effect for at least 10 years?
Yes.
Since 9/11?
Yes.
What's your rank?
Sergeant.
How long have you been a sergeant?
I have been a sergeant 10 years. It will just be coming up on
How long
so
have you-
9.5 years.
How long have you been working for the Cook County Sheriff's Office as a law enforcement officer of some sort, in any capacity?
19 years and 10 months.
What are the Miranda rights?
Our Miranda rights. I don't have. I would have to read them to you from a pre-written.
Okay. You at some point told Ms. Berquist at the counter in the sheriff's office that she had an option to simply show ID, and then she'd be on her merry way, right?
I'm not sure exactly what my words were, but I do remember speaking to her. Yes.
You conveyed that type of offer, right?
Yes.
Okay. And in fact, Yeah, I believe what you told her was that she's going to see the judge for recording at a courthouse, and she may or may not go home tonight. Remember saying that?
I do not.
Is that something you would say?
No.
You wouldn't say something like that. Because it's not true, right?
It may or may not be true. I don't make the rulings on what the judge says or what the judge does.
Right.
I can't tell anybody. I'm not allowed to even tell them. That is what the judge decides on sentencing verdicts, on anything that happens. That's not my decision.
Right, but didn't you tell her that she may or may not go home
Sorry for
tonight?
interruption. Your mic's getting covered. You might want to ask it.
Didn't you tell her that she may or may not go home tonight?
I do not remember that.
Is that something that you would say?
No.
Why wouldn't you say something like that?
Because as I said, it's not my decision on if she is or if she's not going home. It would be the judge's decision. If a judge decides to hold somebody, then they decide to hold somebody. If they say that they're free to go, they're free to go. They set bond. I do not.
Right, also, saying something like that to somebody, you may or may not go home tonight, it's a little bullying, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
What do you think? Do you think that sounds a little bit like a bullying tactic?
I'm not sure.
If you don't do what I'm saying, you may or may not go home tonight?
I'm not sure.
You don't think that sounds like a bullying tactic?
It's been asked and answered.
You don't think that's a bullying tactic?
Is this bullying? Can you, like, it's
You
been
think I'm
asked, it's
bullying?
been answered.
I'm bullying her?
You're asking the same question over and over. It's
I
been
believe the
asked and
answer to the
answered.
question.
It's already been answered.
What's your answer, just so we're clear for the record? You don't think this is a bullying tactic?
Once more.
Your objection is noted. Tell her to answer the question, please.
Yeah, you can still answer.
Okay, I'm not sure.
But it's definitely something that you would not say, right?
Correct.
In fact, you said to her that they take it not so lightly. It can either be an incident report or you can go to bond court. Remember saying that?
No.
You wouldn't say that either, right?
Correct.
Okay. At one point, I think you said to her, this is your last chance or you're going to be arrested. Ever say that to her?
No.
Were you standing by the counter with her while Milazzo was in his office?
I was standing in the office, yes.
All right. This is not marked as an exhibit, but I believe there's a bait stamp here that's SO7334-suspicious circumstance. It's the 2018 328 Axon Body 2 camera footage, which was provided in discovery. I'm going to play from the 2:15 mark.
I'm not recording this, right?
Right.
Take you downstairs, then you will be arrested. We will fingerprint you, and we will run you.
Is this what you want?
I mean, it's silent.
Spanish to 204. Anybody sees the interpreter? Spanish to 204. Alright.
You'll go to bond court at 1:30, and then the judge will decide what he will do for you recording at a courthouse. So you may or may not go home tonight.
Pausing it at 2:48. Did you hear a woman's voice just say you may or may not go home tonight?
Yes,
Who owns that voice? Do you know?
that was me.
So you would say something like that.
I guess I did, yes.
Is there anything else that I'm going to have to show you video footage for in order to get a truthful answer?
As I stated, I have not watched that video, so I would not say that I remember from something that happened almost a year ago.
Did Milazzo say to you something to the effect of, what the fuck is going on today? Every crazy loon in the building is coming.
I do not remember exactly that.
Okay. Would it surprise you if he would say that, or would you not be so surprised?
That would surprise me for someone say that, but I do remember something being said. The exact words I do not remember.
Okay. What did you mean when you told Ms. Berquist that she may or may not go home tonight?
Based upon what happens in court, a judge decides whether someone is set for bond, if they post, if they don't post, if they're released, if they're not released. It is all based upon what a judge does.
So you were basically telling her, give me your ID and identify yourself, or you're going to be in this limbo where you may not go home tonight, right?
I'm sorry, can you say it again?
You were basically telling Ms. Berquist, give us your ID and identify yourself, or else you're going to go to the judge and you may or may not go home tonight.
We were requesting for her to give us an ID,
And if she wouldn't, what would happen to her?
that she would have to go to bond court, I think I said, for then the judge to decide what would happen.
And she may or may not go home that night, right?
Correct.
And you felt the need to tell her that would happen if she didn't give you an ID, right?
Yes, I guess I said that.
And again, the lawful basis to demand her ID was what?
So that we knew who she was.
Anybody you want to know who they are, you get to demand their ID and threaten to bring them to bond court if they don't give it to you in handcuffs? Is that the law?
She was outside videoing, which is something unusual, which is the reason why supervisor was called to go outside to find out that. That's the reason why.
Did you hear my question?
Yes.
What was my question?
Your question was, I can't give it to you exactly. I'm not.
I'll tell you what the question was.
Okay.
I asked you if you get to detain anybody who refuses to identify themselves to you and threaten them that you will bring them to bond court in handcuffs if they don't identify themselves.
So the question is,
Do you get to do that to anybody that you want as an officer of the law?
I guess I'm sorry, I'm not understanding the question. Are you asking if I can just stop anybody that I want and arrest them? So that would be no?
Are you allowed to stop anybody you want, ask them for ID, and if they refuse to give it to you, detain them and bring them to a judge where they'll have bond court and may or may not go home tonight? Do you get to do that to anybody that you want?
Who is acting unusual and suspicious?
Let's start
we have
with
the right.
Let's start with my question. Anybody. Do you get to do that to just anybody you want? Yes or no?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, the answer is obviously no, right?
I'm going to stick with I don't know.
Okay. You think that there's a possibility you get to just go over to anybody on the street and demand ID, and if they don't give it to you, you can detain them?
Not just anybody, no.
Okay, thank you. So we're on the same page now. Somebody has to do something to give you that right as an officer of the law, right?
Correct.
For example, if somebody acts in a way,
Acts, like ACTS, acts?
right,
Is that what you're saying?
acts in a way
Okay.
that establishes reasonable suspicion that they're engaged in illegal activity, you get to do a brief detainment, right?
Correct.
And if there's probable cause that they're involved in criminal activity, then you get to arrest them, right?
Correct.
Okay. Was there any reasonable suspicion that Ms. Berquist was engaged in any illegal activity?
She was engaging in suspicious activity?
I didn't ask you about suspicious, did I?
No.
What did I ask you?
If she was engaging in anything illegal?
I asked you if there was any reasonable suspicion.
God bless you.
I asked you if there was any reasonable suspicion that she was engaged in any illegal activity.
By the time I got there, I'm not sure what she was doing.
I'm asking you what your knowledge is. Based on what you know, based on what you saw, based on what you observed.
Based on what I know I was doing as I was directed by my lieutenant. I
Okay.
walked out there after the fact, so on what she was doing at the beginning, I am not aware of what she was doing at the beginning.
I want to make sure that when we get to trial, your testimony is still going to be, you don't know anything, you were only doing what your lieutenant told you to do. Is that going to be your testimony?
I know that she was videotaping. We are unaware of actually what she was videotaping outside of the building, whether it was outside or inside of the building.
Did you ever touch her camera or SD card?
No, not as far as I remember.
Did you ever delete any footage from her camera?
No.
Do you or did you have any reasonable suspicion that she was engaged in illegal activity? Not suspicious. I don't care about suspicious.
Okay.
I'm asking you about illegal activity. Did you or do you have, let me start the question over. Was there ever any reasonable suspicion that she was engaged in illegal activity?
I would be unaware of any illegal activity.
Okay. Yet she was detained anyway, right?
Correct.
Was she arrested?
She was not.
What's the difference between arrested and detained?
We were not. We were just detaining her. I was detaining her until further information was gathered.
Did you hear my question?
Yes. What was the difference?
What's the answer?
The difference is we were detaining while we were gathering information and not arresting to place new charges on her.
Did you understand the question I asked you?
Right. Detain is to hold to gather information, and arrest is to place new charges upon somebody.
Gotcha. So unless you put charges on somebody, they're not arrested?
We're not arresting her, correct?
Okay. So when you handcuff somebody in a public place, bring them into a sheriff's office, bring them in front of a judge, take their property, and search through their purse, in your opinion, that's a detainment, not an arrest, right?
Correct.
Okay. What would have had to have happened for it to be an arrest? She would have had to have been charged with a crime?
Correct.
So if somebody would have issued her a ticket after all of that, it would have been an arrest?
Or put new charges, yes.
What do you think of the way Milazzo acted that day?
In which regards? How do you?
Well, you heard that I'm assuming you heard all this. You were there, right next to Ms. Bergquist, while he was talking to her, right? Inside?
Yes.
Okay. And he said to her things like, you're going to go to Cook County Jail for 90 days, right?
I do not remember everything that was said. No.
Okay.
And I did not review any of the video to...
Do you remember him ever saying to her that she would go to jail for 90 days?
I do not.
All right. Same video, and this time I'm playing at 1540.
90 days.
Okay.
So, let me back up a drop.
1532, rather.
Okay.
Yes.
We're going to probably take her in front of the judge.
Okay.
He's going to hold her in contempt for, I think right now he's doing 90 days.
Okay.
So, is that okay with you?
Remain silent.
Okay. You realize you're going to go to Cook County Jail for 90 days.
Milazzo said, you realize you're going to go to Cook County Jail for 90 days. You heard him say that?
I did.
We're paused at 1550 right now. Is that an appropriate thing for an officer of the law to say to somebody, in your opinion?
I don't have an opinion on that.
I understand that I'm putting you in a very difficult position right now because I've got you under oath and I'm asking you to testify about your supervisor.
Correct.
Okay? I'm doing it anyway.
Okay.
What's your opinion about the way he treated Ms. Bergquist when he said that? Is that appropriate or inappropriate conduct for an officer of the law?
I do not have an opinion on it.
Are you afraid that if you say that what he did was improper or inappropriate or unprofessional, that you might face some sort of lashback?
No.
Okay. Then why is it that you're afraid or don't want to tell me what your opinion is?
Because I don't have an opinion. It's here nor...
You have no opinion about Milazzo's statement to Ms. Bergquist that she would go to jail for 90 days.
I didn't even remember him saying it until just 20 seconds ago.
Right. But now that you do remember, is that something you would say to somebody?
No.
Why not?
Because it's not my decision to sentence anybody. It is up to the judge.
Is it Milazzo's decision?
No.
Okay, so can you think of any reason explaining or justifying Milazzo saying that to Ms. Bergquist?
I cannot.
You still don't have any opinions about whether that was an appropriate thing to say to Ms. Bergquist?
I don't.
If she would have shown ID, would she have been released? Or do you not know? Was it
I
Milazzo?
don't know. That would not have been my discretion. It was not my call.
Okay. The only thing that concerns me at this point is that I'm afraid when we get to trial, your testimony is going to change. After you say you reviewed all the footage and reviewed all the reports and talked to everybody, do I need to be scared of that?
No.
Nothing further.